brain, our body, everything is interconnected. So having that sense of community is really important as well.
Well, I have 10,000 friends on Instagram. It means they're gonna live a long time. No, I'm joking. Len, going back a little bit to your DNA work, right? I'm still very interested on that. A few years ago, there was this huge scam from this lady. Now I forgot the name, but she claimed that she could just take a drop of her blood and discover if you had cancer and all sorts of things. I would like to ask you, how far in the future can you discover disease? How magical is DNA when it comes to preventing those diseases? Because accordingly to her, it was like the Holy Grail, but it was also a scam. So I'm confused.
Yeah, I watched the movie. I know what you're talking.
I think her name was Anne. Yeah, Anna, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have to be really careful with understanding genetics, because genetics are just a predisposition. So it gives you the possibilities of maybe you can have this, but it doesn't mean that you're going to express this. You have to be very cautious not to use a correlation of a 1-to-1 between your genetic predisposition and the causation of epigenetic expression. One of the things that is important is, just because you have a genetic predisposition to something, it doesn't mean that it's going to express itself. So you may have a predisposition, or I may have a predisposition to heart disease. Okay, well, I know this about myself because I have certain genes and it runs in my family. But if my lifestyle choices are, I'm going to eat a lot of green leafy vegetables, I'm going to avoid saturated fats, I'm going to avoid other things in my lifestyle that can lead to the expression of that disease, then I can mitigate that so it doesn't turn on. So are genetics a good predictor? Yeah, they're a very good predictor, but they should not be used in a silo by itself. Genetics with your biomarkers, with your lifestyle choices, with your family history, you're taking a full account of all those things, and then you're making lifestyle choices to be able to avoid the things that you know about yourself. Even things like this. I'll give you another example. So one of our tests looks at genetic predispositions to opioid dependence. So if you're going into surgery, and I have an orthopedic surgeon that sees about 500-600 patients a month, and they used to, you get your surgery, you get your bottle of opioids that are recommended to you, and they didn't know a lot of people would express that epigenetic, that genetic predisposition to opioid dependence and start getting hooked on opioids. And, next, and that's how this, when this epidemic really started. So if they look to see that you have a genetic predisposition to opioid dependence, what they do is they give you one opioid after surgery, then put you on something else for the rest of your time, the next 3 to 4 days or 5 days, whenever you need to cover. Maybe they'll do something like cannabidiol, CBD, or maybe they'll do an ibuprofen instead, but they make sure they don't give somebody the thing that can express the predisposition to opioid dependence.
That sounds like a good deal. So they're not doing that right now.
They're doing it right now. Yeah.
Oh, they are. Okay, that's great. Okay. I think. I mean, I'm not in the part of this world, right? Medicine, doctors, and stuff. I think it's extremely hard to navigate and understand all the things that my body needs. I take a couple of vitamins. What did I take again? Magnesium, zinc, something like that every day, like fish oil. And I believe I'm doing what my body needs, what my heart needs, but I don't know. I'm just, it's all about guesswork, right? I already mentioned that in the podcast a couple of times. How cool would it be to have like in your Apple Watch, just a couple of meters, like you need to eat that, and that in order to balance things out and be healthy. You need to do this amount of exercise. I don't know, 2 more hours of exercise this week, and then you're good, like precisely in a way that could read your blood and know exactly what is missing. Like there's this whole gamification aspect of things that we've been going through for the past 10 years. You get scores, and for example, now in Teslas, you get a score of how well you're driving. So this gives you a feedback on how to improve. I think this is missing from the health landscape. Right now, if I need to know how my vitals are, like what I'm missing, what I'm doing good, I need to go to the doctor. And most of the times, the doctors, they don't have time for me, and that sucks. Would you say that this DNA swab that you came up, like, did you came up with? So where did this idea come from?
I mean, DNA testing was done for years before us. We do have patents on DNA. We have patents.
Okay.
We have patents on machine learning and DNA. So
how is the AI part of your process?
Yeah, so I'm going to explain. So right now, you're talking about individualized medicine. We're getting there, and I'll explain how we're going to get there. We can do personalized medicine right now. The personalized medicine is that you're in partnership with your healthcare professional. So in an ideal world, what you would do is you would do a whole genome test, then you would do all your blood work. So once you have both of those, and maybe you have your biological age, which I can go into too. So now, as you look at your genetic predispositions, you look at your blood work, you look at those things, you are given a treatment plan. Here's what you need to do. This is what Len May needs to do based on those factors. Now, the most important thing, or almost as important, is the feedback loop. How well is this protocol working for me? So the way that I would respond back is, you're talking about gamifications, I would come back and say, I'm feeling better. My pain or whatever is subsiding. So that's your PRO, patient reported outcome. The second thing is your biomarkers. So you talk about wearable device data, what changes have been made to my heart rate variability, etc. What are those biomarker changes? Third of all, what are my changes to my epigenome? So what's called methylation. What is being added? What's being subtracted? So I can see that my protocol that I'm on is actually working. So now where the AI comes in, it takes all that information, goes to the cloud, says, okay, for Len, this is what seems to be working. All his vitals are coming up better. And is going to come back and say, the next person that has a similar genetic profile to me, this should be the protocol that's being recommended to that person. And that's what the doctor receives. And the doctor can say, I like 90% of this, but 10% I want to change. Great, you can do that. Now the AI is going to learn from that change and give you better predictive inferences. So bookends that experience and makes it that way. Now, that's personalized medicine. That's what we can do today. What you're talking about also, as I would refer to, as individualized medicine. In the individualized medicine, there are several companies around the world. I think the company that's has the highest progression in this, it's a company out of Israel, Nanobot technology. So one of the things that they're experimenting right now.
Nanobots?
Nanobots, yeah.
Oh my. Okay.
How to inject a nanobot into your blood, into your body. This will be your nano monitoring system. It's not detected. It's not going to interfere with anything that's in your body, but it constantly monitors your body to give you that thing. Oh, bro, you don't have, you're missing this, or you have too much this. It communicates with you. Look, my dad has high blood sugar, diabetes. He wears a glucose monitor, and when he eats something that's too much sugar, it beeps. It tells him that. So there's already technology that's that, but this is taking it a step further. That's your own individual doctor that is monitoring everything you do in your body in real time, communicates back to you and says, hey, Len, do this, and can also communicate back to your doctor on the things that you need. So that's the future.
That's what I need. That's what I need. Instant feedback, instant gratification. It's like The Sims. I'm not sure if you play The Sims. You always have the life bars of like all the things that The Sims need to do in order to be helped. That's what I need in my Apple Watch with all the. You know this guy, Brian Johnson. I'm sure he has it already. I'm sure, man. This guy is living 2030 or so. How long do you think that he's gonna live, Brian Johnson?
How long is what?
He's gonna live because he's doing all the protocols, all the things that's humanly possible to extend his life, right?
I think look, I know he's sharing what he's doing, and I've been following, but there's a certain thing that we have genetically that we predispose. You can only live as long as you are genetically predisposed to live. You can change your genome. You can change the expression of that. So he can maximize his lifespan for what he's allocated for Brian Johnson. But until we do genetic changes, we as a human race, we're only predisposed to a certain thing. Now, look, it can change because there are mammals in this world that live longer. There's mammals, certain whales, certain sharks, certain other animals that have lived for a couple hundred years. So it's possible. And there's technology called CRISPR. I don't know if you're familiar with this or not,
No.
but so CRISPR technology allows you to do gene editing. And so we can go in an embryonic state and see what the embryo is genetically predisposed to. So let's say that the embryo has some disease markers, like genetic disease, like maybe sickle cell or Down syndrome or things like that. We, with this technology, can go in and edit the genome and change it. So remove the extra chromosome, change that genetic predisposition. And now that child doesn't have to have the genetic disease that they already are, getting through conception. So once we do gene editing, there's a lot more that we can do. Now, with gene editing, it opens it up for other issues. There are countries like China who have tried genetic editing to make the perfect human
Captain
soldier.
American.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to balance it of how do we get to a point where we're getting rid of just diseases and not making the next Captain America for a country that's going to have thousands of Captain Americas or millions of Captain Americas that are going to go in and conquer the world.
But wait a minute, Lambs. What's going on there in China? Did they succeed? Like they're actually doing it? Is that real?
I don't know because it's all enclosed.
Oh my god!
They've done that with animals. They've done that with animals.
Oh my god, the Chinese—they're creating superhumans and super. I'm not surprised, to be honest. I'm not surprised. I heard rumors from I I listened to a lot of those alien stories and how the aliens are working with the government and how the aliens are working with the China. They are modifying our genes and how look. It's not every day that I have a DNA specialist on the podcast that I need to ask you. What about the trash DNA, the part of our DNA that supposedly doesn't have any purpose? Accordingly to the ancient alien astronauts, I don't know, the guys from History Channel, this is actually alien DNA.
Yeah, I don't know. I can tell you this. Evolution is an interesting thing. So think about it this way. We have an appendix. What is the use of our appendix? I have no idea. We may not need it at all. We absolutely don't need it because when the appendix gets inflamed, it gets removed. But at some point in evolution of a human being, we use the appendix. So as evolution happens, maybe there are certain genes we no longer need, but they're still in our bodies, which is not good because it creates senescence. Senescence is the thing that really ages us. It's having these zombie cells that actually, get a lot of ATP, so energy from our mitochondria, for cells that really don't need that energy, and that helps to that reduces the energy that we're producing from our mitochondria. Our mitochondria stops producing